Hello again, Dan.
You're right, mate. This is weird, isn't it?
It is a bit weird this time. Not our usual podcast. We've done something a little bit different. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll know exactly what we're on about because you can see us.
Yeah, we've
not just our voices.
decided to film it, and suddenly I feel very awkward. I keep looking at the camera.
There's enough cameras.
Mum, I've made it. Yeah, but we decided to film this one.
Yeah, because it's a bit of a special episode.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but we're on a roll with these now. I'm finding that it feels like a regular weekly occurrence now, every couple of weeks. But we're on a roll. So the next episode, again, as we do every week, we're talking past, future, whatever it is, because it's already come out because you're listening to it. But the Jules podcast will be going live tonight. Yeah. But by the time you listen to this, you already would have heard it. So.
I don't know why you do it every time.
I do it every time, but
it's silly.
Yeah.
To go. You're on a roll then. Special guest.
Special guest. Yeah. This guest, to be honest, he's been subtly hinting every week. Is it my turn yet? Is it my turn yet?
Yeah.
And I think we've given him really.
We actually said it's Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
It's Kevin Nash.
The big man.
Yeah. And we said that we were going to get him on weeks ago.
We did, but we said that with a lot of people as well, to be honest.
Yeah,
so things change quickly, but...
So here we are up in Church Lodge.
Yeah, we thought we'd do it something quite personal to Kev, really. Obviously, the Church Lake and the Cops Lake, which is that way behind us. Fisheries Kevin's built himself.
Yeah.
And have a lot of history, a lot of meaning. So what a perfect location to record /
You've done a few nights in this lodge, this very lodge?
I've done 4 nights in this lodge. Yeah, I have.
Yeah, it's what dreams are made of.
Where dreams are made of, and where dreams can also get crushed. But we won't talk about that.
Yeah, you've had a few. Yeah. Interesting fact about this lodge. Which Nash employees used to literally live in here?
Good. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. This lodge was numerous Nash employees' homes.
Go on, see who you can name.
Tommy
lived in here for a bit.
Blair,
Alan Blair lived in here for a bit.
Reedy, Nick Maddox
used to live in here for a bit.
Matt Downing. Is that the full house?
Yeah.
Ditch.
And Ditch used to live in here for a bit. The people who can see it, it's what, like 20 foot by 10 foot? A bit more than that?
Yeah. I'm trying to compare what you'd compare it to in terms of a room. You can't really. Like in a room in your house.
Everyone's house is different now.
Everyone's house is different. It's a good point.
It's about the size of my bathroom, but...
yeah. Well, where you're from.
Yeah. But no, so it's a small room, and at one point there was 4 of them all living in there. Do you know that?
Blimey. Can you imagine that if one of them was a snorer? Yeah.
So when they first started at Nash, they got given that opportunity. They didn't necessarily live near Essex. So Kev was like, yeah, you can stay in the lodge for a bit if you want, and... A few of them literally lived in here for a little bit until they got a place local and were able to actually work. They just
so how long was the longest stint?
I don't know. I need to ask Tommy. For some reason in my head, I'm thinking 2 years.
Yeah, it's a shame you can't actually sit. But there's everything you need here: kitchen, shower.
There's no toilet.
TV. No toilet. You've got to walk down to the offices for that. But that's you get a dartboard in here, and I think.
Yeah.
Bit of a lad's pad.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And you've got a lake next door full of
there's
40,
literally lake
50
outside. Yeah.
Bonus. But
tell us about your favourite memory from Church Lake.
My favourite memory from Church Lake?
Yeah, what's your favourite moment up here?
For myself,
yeah,
fortunate enough to fish it twice. Actually, it was last year. Me and Tommy, we did the gardening, basically. That was our deal breaker. Kev said if you sort it out a bit, it's getting a little bit overgrown in the summer, so we gave up 2 of our weekends. I say gave up. Jumped at the chance to give it a clean. Just basically sat on the mower going around drinking beer. Yeah. And we were fortunate enough to fish it. And I was lucky enough to catch one of the real lookers in here after some effort. It was the second weekend actually. The Big Fully, I think it's called. But you've had an experience on here as well, haven't you?
Is that one a fully scaled?
Yeah.
Yeah, Big Fully.
Yeah. What gave that away?
I've done a couple of sessions. Only a couple of sessions. I had a real funny one. I had a really funny one, actually. We had this dude over from South Africa.
He's on the wall. I don't know if you're about to see.
Get the picture down, look.
Find him. 2 seconds.
Show it that camera.
That camera. Laurie?
Ori.
O-R-I.
Big ups, Ori, if you're
South
listening.
African friend. South Africa.
So Vivnica, I'm going to do an impression now, which is going to be terrible. But basically, Ori come and did work experience.
I'll leave that down for a second.
Yeah, we'll have a pause, shall we? Basically, just prop him up, mate. Prop him up there, look. Basically, Ori came and did work experience with us, and just like doing general groundsman stuff, looking after the lakes, laying the path, that sort of thing, all the way from South Africa. And he actually did a bit like his degree in like business or economics or something, but loved his fishing, was like, I'll do anything. I'm just going to go to Nash for 2 weeks. And he lived again in this very lodge for 2 weeks while he worked on the lakes. But at the end of his 2 weeks, Alan said, right, okay, you're allowed to fish the weekend on church, but you need someone up there with you because he'd never caught fish of the size that are in here. Okay. And so Alan was like, you need someone with you. And he asked everyone around the office, like, what are you doing this weekend? Can you go and fish up the church with Ori? And everyone was busy. And he come to me, and Blair did what he does and started convincing me.
Did you volunteer, or was it one of Blair's mind games?
To be fair, I was so busy at that point. It's not long after I first started Nash, I'd shot a couple of weddings which I needed to edit, and he was just like, it's fine, just take your computer up here, just edit up here all weekend. So I was like, yeah, all right then. And it's a cold, windy February weekend, a couple of years ago now, proper howling. And yeah, me and Ori sat and had a social on that. And on the first night, we sat in here till about 11 o'clock at night, and the door just kept blowing open as the wind hit it, and proper howling. And I said, right, I'm going to go bed, mate. But if you get one, shout me, come get me, leave it in the net. And at this point, I should have known, because I said, leave it in the net. And he was just looking at me like,
so it can get out again?
What do you mean, leave it in the net? He didn't really get it, but I was like, oh, I'll be fine. Just leave it in the net, mate. Run round, get me. We'll come sort it out, retain it for the morning. So I've gone to sleep. He's gone back round. He was fishing far side. And like 10 minutes later, I'm in bed, just starting to drift off. And the wind's howling, like whistling through the door. And I just heard, Dad, in the distance. I was sort of sat up. I was like, was that? No. I got back down to my bed and Dad. So I was like, okay, he's got one. Yeah. So I start getting out of bed, put my waterproofs on. The wind's lashing against the windows and the rain. I was putting my waterproofs on. Next thing I know, just boom, kicks down the door. Hey, fucking hell, Dan, come quick, I've got one there. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, he just burst through the door in leggings, no fucking shoes. He was wearing leggings because he had
like long johns.
Like long johns.
Oh, right. I thought we meant just
didn't have any fucking leggings. Shoes on, just his socks soaked wet through. And he was like, fucking hell, Dan, I've got one, come quick, eh? I was like, fuck it. And he just ran. Then he just ran into the darkness. I've gone outside and I just see him just like skipping down the path into the darkness as he's got one. I was like, put some shoes on, man. Like, what are you doing? Anyway, he was dead excited. He caught that very fish, 36 odd pounds.
In February as well. So
in February.
What an achievement.
And he was so happy. But yeah, big
fair
up.
Play.
Sorry.
So if you're listening / watching.
Yeah, safe. Yeah. It was a good night, that.
Yeah, funny. Good weekend.
Yeah, it was a funny memory.
Yeah. No, I'm sure lots of people's dreams have been made on this venue. And it is, remember, because it used to be exclusive, only invitation only, but now anyone can fish it.
Correct.
So it's closed from November to March. I believe
throughout
the winter period it's closed. But yeah, anyone can fish it. So if you are interested, whack in Nash Lakes on Google and you can have a look. But I highly recommend it. And the facilities are brilliant.
Yeah.
You got a lodge with all you can need. If people manage to live in here, 4 of them for 2 years, you're going to be spoiled.
Pretty sound, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of people go to France, as you do, for your holiday a week.
Yeah,
this is similar sort of price, maybe even a little bit cheaper. All in.
Cheaper. Like, France really is minimum of $1,000. By the time you got there, got your food, got your bait, this, that, and the other, that you're spending $1,000. So this is a lot cheaper than this fish to like 56.
Yeah, I think 56? Right time of year, sort of, not too far, £60. So yeah. Anyway,
Church Lake, sick. Other than that, Alf, what have you been up to, mate?
What have I been up to? Well, it was less than 2 weeks ago, actually. We were recording with Jules. I think that's why it feels so short between the two podcasts. But
last weekend.
In between then, what's happened? I went down my syndicate
Well done.
personally, which is good because the ticket started in April and I've only been 4 times.
Yeah.
So I hadn't really got my money's worth. I had a nice one, really like purple looking two-tone mirror. Yeah. So it was good. It's good to get back down there and actually.
You gonna do a bit over the autumn?
100%. I think that's what I needed to sort of kickstart me going again because I've been doing a lot, but sort of in between sort of filming projects. I think we've been all over the place. Cornwall, Brasenose.
Yeah.
So what about you?
I finished last weekend at Horseshoe. Had a few, which was good. My old mate Puke and Curly.
Of course, because you stayed after the
podcast. Did one more night. Yeah, me and Puke moved to a different swim. Put loads of squid out. Caught a few fish, like 5 between us in the night. Which is good because I don't often get a bite. And then
I say no.
Guess what happened?
What?
Made it.
What do you mean you
made it?
You've made it again?
Yeah, famous, and usually now I have to wear a disguise when I go out because people want photos with me. Paparazzi come.
That's why
have you
Transporter's
seen...
got like tinted windows.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have you seen Paul Whitehouse, Bob Mortimer go fishing?
I did, and I watched it. Well, do you know what? It was my dad came running up. Dad, Alf, there's fishing on the TV. And I think he'd had a few whiskies by this point, so he was a bit excited. I mean, it was a Tuesday, Monday evening or whenever it was on. But no, I watched it. I did watch it.
Yeah, so Friday night, it was the carp fishing episode, Series 2, carp fishing episode. And it was a bloody honour to be asked to go and be the carp fishing expert, along with Tommy.
How did you fluke that one?
They asked Alan and he wasn't available, so it makes sense. No, but yeah, so the angling consultant, good friend of Nash, John Bailey, who helps with that whole series, all the fishing, he needed somewhere for carp fishing. It needed to kind of be in Essex, so he got in touch with Alan. Alan suggested a venue. They went down to the venue, said, "Yeah, this is spot on." Bentley Fisheries in
just outside Brentwood, I believe.
That's it. Yeah. Bentley Fisheries there. Me and Tommy filmed there before. Amazing little fishery. And it was actually a week later, and Alan showed them the place, and dead impressed. But they asked if Alan could come down and help out. He couldn't, 'cause he was off on business in China, I think he was, and said, "Oh, I'll send down Tommy and Dan." So we went down, and I got to fish with Bob Mortimer and Paul Whitehouse for 3 days. It was good.
You have made it. I agree with you there.
I'm genuinely a big fan of them both anyway. So when I got that chance, I was buzzing, and it was pretty cool. They were just, I was kind of worried they wouldn't be like they are on camera when the cameras aren't rolling.
Personality on camera,
but they are like. It was hard to tell when the camera was actually rolling because they are no different whatsoever, and they're just both fucking hilarious. It was so good.
If anyone hasn't seen this episode, by the way, they need to watch it.
Yeah.
It's not the usual thing that they do, and if you know about the series already, but it's just one of those, because is it correct? They both had heart attacks, didn't they? So they're going fishing to
problems with their hearts,
heart problems, and now it's just a feel good. I just found myself laughing, but
it's so good.
Yeah, you got to watch. I don't know. You may have watched it already. A lot of people may have watched it, but there was a bit in there that had me cracking up with a crossbow and the flump.
Yeah.
But what you told me about, like you were saying off camera, they're not different.
No different, mate. Exactly the same. And like they're not. You know that saying, "Never meet your heroes." It wasn't like that at all. Do you know what I mean? Because they were just two genuine blokes. They mingle with all the camera. Like, it's a proper little unit of people. Like they mingle with the cameraman and the director and the producer, and there's no difference between, they're the stars and we're filming you. It was
just normal people.
Yeah, and they were just so, like, honestly, just so funny all of the time. Like, and the way they act and talk to each other is exactly the same on camera, off camera. They do these stupid little role plays with each other just when they're just walking off down the bank, and it's just like, you're a little bit mental, guys. A little bit crazy, but it was wicked. Good fun.
For sure.
And I saw my name on credit, so...
Yeah, I see the bit in the group chat came.
Yeah.
You put a little video on the group chat, and the sort of Nash group chat, and it just come through. I've made it, just because your name was in like size 2 text on the TV. Yeah, Dan Yeoman's just straight up.
That was me!
Yeah. A claim to fame, mate.
That was pretty cool,
What's next for you on the whole TV? Where you going? Now you've made it.
Made in Chelsea. Never been to Chelsea.
Not with that accent either. Anyway, enough about what we've been up to the past couple of weeks. We need to get our guest into the lodge.
Yeah, we'll get Kev up in a minute.
He's down at his house. I've just got to give him a quick buzz, and he's gonna come up, and then I'm sure we're gonna have a very enjoyable.
Yeah, he's got a few stories, hasn't he?
He's got a few stories. No, we couldn't possibly cover them all.
Yeah.
In one podcast, which is the beauty of the podcast, because it's not just one episode.
And a lot of people think Kev's taken such a back seat because people don't see him so much anymore. But when you've had him on live streams, you've had him on a couple now, haven't you? Or when we do interviews with him, people love it. The feedback's great. He just, he's kind of just taken a step back out of the limelight, as it were, and just concentrates on the business. But he was more than happy to come up and do
He's been looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. He's been really looking forward to this. So,
yeah.
And I mean, what's the time now? We're coming up to 1 o'clock.
Something like that, yeah,
So,
about midday.
Bit early for brandy. So if anyone's seen the live streams before, he should. Kev enjoys a brandy, but I think we're a bit early for that. So
yeah,
we'll get him at his best. Well, actually, his best is probably after a brandy. What I found. But
yeah, let's not hold our breath.
yeah. Right, I'm going to give him a buzz and we'll bring him in.
Let's get him in.
Good afternoon, Kevin. Thank you for joining us today. It's the afternoon, isn't it? Just about the afternoon, yeah. So this is...
It's probably evening by the time you two have been fucking about getting this lot sorted.
A few technical difficulties to start it, but we're back now.
Yeah, it wouldn't be Nash Tackle if it went smoothly.
No.
Definitely not. How have you been, Kev?
I'm good, a little bit apprehensive, knowing what a couple of wind-up merchants you two are. And plus you made me hold this... don't know what it is. Normally our little mic here.
Yeah, the reason we've done that is because it just makes it look more professional.
Okay.
Yeah, there's probably no technical...
But it's going to be completely
benefit.
lost on me then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Professionalism.
True.
But no, we obviously have been waiting for you to get onto the podcast. Been really excited. You've been looking forward to it as well. As far as little hints every week. When is it your turn in the office? We've been...
Come on. You know I hate public performances. Like
I'm
apprehensive.
I'm convinced you've been looking forward to this one, Kev.
Okay, Alfie.
And now is your chance to... Well, we're going to explore Kevin Nash.
Explore Kevin Nash. That sounds...
Yeah, that does sound a bit weird.
Yeah, that does sound a bit weird, actually.
Kev says he's apprehensive, but you seem a little bit on edge.
No, I'm not on edge. I've done two
No,
live...
Alfie, you're definitely on edge. Normally you two are like hitting it off, all the gossip and you are definitely nervous, Alfie. What's happened?
Do you know what, Kev?
What's happened, Alfie?
After 2 live streams with you, I don't think I could possibly be nervous because... Well, yeah, it was 2 live streams. Obviously, one of them was dedicated to you. The second was a Samir live stream, which you gate crashed, shall we say, came down.
There's one very big difference.
Go on.
No brandy. I'm not bollocks.
No brandy, yeah. Yeah, no brandy on the
on
podcast.
that in the intro, didn't we?
We did.
Did you? Right.
In a
Okay.
good way, don't worry.
Oh, so you've already started without me?
Yeah,
We always
we've
do a
done
little introduction.
Intro, yeah.
Okay. Well, before we get going, can we deal with one matter?
Of
Okay.
course.
Your constant digging out of Mikey. It's all right for you guys, but you don't have to manage him.
Can I just say, this isn't digging Mikey out. These are all true stories. 100% true.
Well,
There's no...
okay, the constant exposes of Mikey. You don't have to manage him and deal with him. You just see the crying. You don't see the stamping of feet and the tantrums. Well, you did when I gave you guys all the prototype power barrows and then had to ask for them back.
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah, he threw his toys right out the pram.
Oh, stamping his feet and all that. But there's only one person who I know can control Mikey, and that's Frankie's partner.
Yeah.
She's got a spare section of a prodding stick and regularly beats him with it. But
So I've heard.
Yeah, I thought that was a rumour, that one.
no, it's absolutely true. But you're just causing me grief because every time you do a podcast and you tell another story, I have to deal with it the next day.
Apologies, but I'm probably not going to stop doing that.
It's down to Mikey, I suppose, Dan. Like he
As long as he's crying,
solve it, yeah.
we'll give him stories. Yeah.
Great.
Sorry, mate.
Great.
Do you enjoy?
Shall I give you a story then?
Have you got one?
Yeah.
Go on.
You know I used to have a pet rabbit.
Who?
Mikey.
Right.
Funny enough, Julian Cundiff had a pet rabbit as well.
Oh, really?
Did you know that?
No.
He might still have pet rabbits. But I was quite taken aback. When I got to know Jules, I went up to stay with him and I can't remember his first partner, love of his life. And I walked in the house and there's a white rabbit hopping around.
What, just loose? There's no...
Rabbit?
A house rabbit.
Yeah.
I didn't know such things exist. Yes, and interesting. 2 carp hangers, both had, or I don't know where Jules has still got, but Mikey certainly hasn't.
Why, what happened to Mikey?
Well, the story goes back to on this particular Monday morning. I got a call from his mum saying Mikey... No, sorry, I didn't get the call. I was out. I got the message that Mikey's mum had rang and said he wouldn't be in. She didn't know how many days he wouldn't be in for because there'd been a family bereavement. And like it's kind of one of them. I never took the call, and you know what I'm like. I'm like dad to him, son to him, mum even in case of Mike. And like, oh my God, who's died in the family? They're upset.
Genuinely worried about.
Worried about him. You can't pick up the phone now and say, "Oh, hi, Mikey. I hear someone's just died."
Yeah.
Sorry, pal. So I just kind of had to, just see how it developed. Anyway, we got to Friday, still no Mikey, and as it happened, I was going round to have a drink with a good mate of mine who lives next door that night. Right. And so I've gone round, we're having a good drink, and he had a staff, needed to go out. Excuse me, I'm just having some tea. It's pitch black, staff's gone out. Quarter of an hour later, scraping at the door. We opened the door, and the staff come in with a very dead white rabbit. But it wasn't all white, it had some mud on it actually. And my mate has gone, oh my God, he said, that's Mikey's rabbit. I said, what? He said, well, didn't you know Mikey had a rabbit? He said he adores it. He said, it's his life, this rabbit.
Did it have a name?
Huh?
Did it have a name?
It's called Snowy.
Snowy.
And his staff has just presumably killed it. Got into next door's garden, gone in the house again. He's like beside himself because, again, he's got to deal with Mikey. He sees the tantrums and the stamping.
Hears him through the wall, I can imagine.
Hears him through the walls and everything. So he's had it. He's had it for all his life. I said, look, chill. I'll sort it. So I've got the rabbit, put it under the sink, washed the mud off it, and I've gone down the hedgerow. I could see where the staff had gone through. So I went through, found the hutch, put it all back in the hutch, put some straw in it. Rabbit looked really cool, just having a nice sleep.
Right.
Okay. That was it. And we had a right skinful actually. And I stayed the night on his sofa. In fact, in the morning I'd forgotten all about that incident. Anyway, I gets up, bids him farewell, and walking down the driveway, and all I can hear is it's next door.
Made me jump.
And it's clearly Mikey. I thought, oh my God, what's happened? I've walked up the driveway, knocked on the door, and his dad come to the door. He said, hello, Kevin. I said, hello. I said, is Mike all right? In the background you're hearing I said, is Mike all right? He said, oh God, he said, we're really trying to deal with it. I said, I don't know how we're going to get over this. I said, why, what happened? He said, well, last Sunday, his rabbit died. And, he went through this period of bereavement. That's why he didn't come to work. Every morning he's going down to, look at the grave. And, he used to spend hours staring at the rabbit hut. He was even putting water in it every morning in the food. Oh, he said, anyway, he went down this morning, the rabbit was back in its hutch. I didn't know the fucking rabbit had been died and buried.
The staff's just dug it up.
Yeah.
Oh God, poor old Mikey.
So it basically had to relive the dead rabbit thing again because it was back in the cage, but presumably dead.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how the parents explained that to him, but it was another 10 days before he come back to work. Yeah, bless him.
See, he told us he'd just gone on a holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh right.
Yeah. So
bearing in mind also, Mikey's 25 years of age.
Yeah, he was 24 when this happened.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you got to give him a little bit of leeway, I suppose.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Poor Snowy. R.I.P.
Poor Snowy. R.I.P.
Do you know we actually had a review on the podcast. We've had a lot of positive reviews, haven't we?
We have a lot of positive that's a bit of a mouthful. Positive reviews.
See, he's nervous. Look.
I'm not nervous.
We've had a review last week, which will go out on the last week's podcast when it but we believe it being Mikey.
Oh yeah, because you'll hear this because you won't have heard this yet, but the podcast that's coming, we think Mikey's got an alias because there was a review criticising the Mikey crying stories, accusing us of bullying him.
Really?
Yeah, and we can only presume that review was left by Mikey himself.
Yeah, under the
alias. I can't remember what it was, but
Wakey Milton, I think.
Yeah, Wakey Milton or Snowy the Rabbit, I think it was. Yeah, Snowy the Rabbit.
But yeah, so I said last week I won't do it anymore. No more stories. But
it just struck me. I really shot myself in the foot, and I'm going to have to deal with this tomorrow night. But
Well, as soon as
I might have the rest of the week off. Let you guys deal with it. Think about it.
As soon as he hears this, he's not going to be happy.
How long? When's this going to go out?
This will be usually 2 weeks since recording it. So what would
perfect? I think I might be in Portugal then.
Oh, how convenient!
Still hunting that elusive £50 Portuguese carp.
Back to Kevin Nash.
Oh no!
Obviously, we want to explore a little bit, not only into your fishing life, but also your personal life. Now,
have we got long enough?
Well, for as much as one episode's worth anyway, I know we could sit here all day, but I hear it a lot of time, especially being so active on social media. A lot of people tend to think that you've actually taken a backseat role within Nash when that couldn't be really further from the truth. And really, that's because they don't see as much of you now, Kev. And a lot of people think that you're not at the heart of it at the minute. So what is your day-to-day life at Nash for you? A normal day anyway.
To cover that point firstly, I felt who wants to see an old codger like me anymore, when it's a kid's sport. And so I decided to deliberately go to the back of the stage to let all you youngsters come through, and all that. I remember Dick Walker, the guy who started all this lark. You only had to massive respect for him because, like I say, the father of carp fishing was churning out the same articles year after year in Angling Times. And I lost respect for him. So I think you have to understand your sell-by date arrives. It really is a sport for youngsters.
Yeah,
it really is. Not 60-year-olds, 40-year-olds is probably the limit.
Yeah, we touched on it, I think, with Julian, that everyone has a timeline on.
It was interesting talking to Julian because obviously his sort of people he looked up to was yourself, Kev, Rod Hutchinson, and then sort of there's an age group that look up to Julian now, and then sort of below that then you've got Alan and that sort of range. So there is sort of a demographic for each.
The kids know better. They know better than the adults, don't they? I don't. There's no better example of that than carp fishing. And Mikey actually is a good example. He would never listen to me. No regard for my apparent maybe fishing experience. Anything I used to say, you could just see his saying, really? Yeah. Because I've got the latest rig and Nash is still using the blowback rig or whatever. At the end of the day, it's simple, isn't it? Just find a hard spot where they're feeding and put the right bait and the right rig on it. But every generation, I think, overcomplicates it and brings all their little edges and secrets, and so they don't listen to the former generations who just have worked out, it ain't hard to catch them. It's just a few basic points.
Yeah, I suppose there's no
and that's
substitute.
why I decided to take a back seat. Now, what was the question? Life at Nash.
Yeah, your everyday life.
It really starts about 6 with me and Alan walk the dogs. That's the most precious part of the day for me. Because I always say I don't know whether Alan's my third son or my brother. I just love him to bits, and I just love that quality time with him because as soon as the day starts in the office, it's ridiculous. I've always said 4 inches. That is the thickness of a wall. Between me and the office next door, but the people in that office, I might not talk to them for weeks. Whatever. And as you guys know, it can be really frenetic, and so that's my quality time with Alan. And
I guess they're perhaps the most productive hours of the day as well. Those 2 hours in complete solitude with Alan, just to discuss the week, the day before, anything that comes up, we can really churn out some productive points.
Massively productive. I used to start work about 4:30 in the morning, and that was because that's a number of hours I needed till 9 o'clock to get all the important stuff done, because I always said at 9 o'clock the day ended. As soon as other people arrive in the office and the phones are ringing, you just productivity just crashes off a cliff.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's when me and Nan have a great catch up.
So, would you consider yourself a morning person then, Kev?
Absolutely. You know, I happily start work at 4, but I don't want to work after 4 or 5. You know, complete contradiction of Gary Bays. You know, he don't want to roll out of bed till 10, 11, but he'll work till midnight.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how we're all different.
Yeah, for sure.
It's gone very quiet. We run out of questions.
That's it, and that's the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, bye. I've been going there. Yeah. Oh yeah, he was asking me about my day, weren't you? So I go in. Then it's full steam into Mikey, I guess.
Yeah.
Get the handkerchiefs out, sit down with him, you know, find out what crisis has happened that night, and comfort him for the bruises from the spare pod section that Frankie's inflicted on him, all that kind of stuff. No, seriously, hit me emails. My actual role really, other than just all seeing, you know, all encompassing, you know, over the whole operation. My key role is the innovation. Mikey is innovations manager, and I have to say I'm very proud of him. From young teenager, or from teenager to, what is he now, 25, 26?
25, yeah.
Yeah, he's been with me, what, 6-7 years? 6 years?
8, I think he said. 8 years, yeah.
A kid in angling director has really come on great, and can be proud of himself. So me and him spend a lot of time together. If the phone rings and it'll be a customer, you know, fisherman or whatever, inquiry, I love that side of it. I love talking to the anglers.
That's one thing I noticed when I started was how much you're on the end of the phone when the customers ring. It used to sometimes go through to Loz, who worked here then, or someone else, but more often than not, if a customer rings, I can imagine there's a bit of a startled, this is the Kevin Nash of Nash Tackle, and it comes straight through to you quite often, doesn't it? Yeah,
do you get that? I suppose that is a reaction most of the time. Like, are they surprised when you tell them that it's Kevin Nash?
Normally, I pick up the phone, it's Kevin Nash. Who am I talking to? I just told you, thicko, Kevin Nash. Oh my God! Yeah, I've got to say, I'm just an ordinary guy who catches a few carp like them, but it's the most satisfying part of the job to me, talking to anglers and fishermen. I've had some real weird ones. You know, one guy struggling with water. Well, I say weird ones, some lovely ones. One guy was struggling with water 2 for years, and he rang me up to say what bait, and I said sweet corn, mate. And he went, "Don't you own Nash bait?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, why aren't you going to recommend me a Nash bait?" I said, "Because it's not right for your situation." He rang me 2 weeks later. He'd had a 39, 4 years to catch it, over the moon. I love all that. I love all that.
A lot of satisfaction in that, I can imagine. Yeah.
And going into a bit more of a fishing background, we always kind of ask everyone, as you know, on the podcast, where did fishing start for you? And where did it? Because obviously I've heard many stories about your old Harefield days and whatnot, but where did it start kind of before that? How did you get into fishing full start?
Well, it started in a farm pond called Great Wheatley's, which is a road at the other end of Rayleigh. At the end of this lane is a farm called Great Wheatley's Farm. Right. One of my mates at school was into fishing, and I just went down there to see him fishing, and I don't think he even caught anything. It was just the whole thing, of him being there by this little farm pond with all duckweed over it, that somehow captured me, because I'm a firm believer that if you've got that hunting gene in you, and let's be honest, the reason we was all put on this planet to hunt and gatherers, and we all should have that gene, but it's been worked out by modern society. But there's a certain number of us that still have that gene. I spent all my childhood hunting things, whether it be tadpoles, frogs, newts, lizards, whatever, bird egging. Confess it, in those days, we used to collect birds' eggs. But everything was about hunting and foraging. So the fishing was just a natural progression, I think, really.
And how
very
old?
interesting. There's not a fisherman in my family.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were talking about that, weren't we?
Yeah, it's a
the other
DNA.
day.
It's a DNA.
Same as you?
Same as me. Again,
Yeah.
not a single
Yeah.
person in my family was fitting. It was just sort of luck that I stumbled across it.
Much the same. Just went down to my local village pond, started fishing with mates, and out of those 6 guys, I was the only one who carried on with it. And like you say, it's just something that just clicks inside you.
For a lot of people, it's sport, chasing the ball. You know, for some, it's chasing the ball with a brain. You know?
Yeah.
And that's a key point, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you can work out what a ball's going to do in terms of how the other players are reacting with it. But if it's got a brain, you'll never entirely always know what it's going to do.
Yeah.
So how old would you have been on that? Well, when did you catch your first carp, shall we say? How old would you have been catching your first carp?
I can't remember. I think that was when I joined Radio Angling Club. I think I was around 12.
Okay.
You'd have to look back from my book.
Yeah.
It's a thing when you're in your 60s, the old memory begins to go out. I think I was 12.
Okay, yeah, well, a rough age anyway, so we can get an idea. And then, so the creation of Nash Tackle, how long after that it's when you discovered fishing, and then was it a quick, well, I suppose you were quite young at that age, but when you started to look into the business side of things, how long did that take?
Well, the 2 key catalysts in my life were, one, gaining access to Radio Angling Club, which wasn't easy, but I got in that club as a junior, and that was at a time when waters were just beginning to be stocked with carp. To many listeners today, that might sound quite a bizarre statement, but there was very, very few places where you could catch carp in those days, because carp were only just coming onto the scene in terms of availability to be stocked. I remember in 1976 having a very vigorous debate with Ricky Gibbonson, that's the brother of Jim Gibbonson, where I claimed that I knew I could identify 10 waters in Essex which would have 20s in them, and he wouldn't have it.
Really?
Yeah, he wouldn't have it. So it just kind of, it's an indication of how it all exploded. Anyway, Radio Angling Club, their water was polluted by Radio Council. They had a tip above it, and the stream polluted it. So that was completely redug out and needed stocking. And so there was a fish farm at Stanbridge, which is not so many miles away, who I don't know how or what, I don't know when with them, but they were certainly starting to rear carp, and so Radio Angling Club bought some carp off of them, and so it's one of the first waters in this area to be stocked with carp. And so when you've been fishing for 3-4 inch rudd in farm ponds, and then suddenly there's these monsters, which I guess the average weight had been £4.
Yeah.
A 6-pounder was huge. I actually caught the only double.
Really?
It's on the cup actually. I caught it in the match. I think I caught the only double figure carp that the lake grew on. So that was the first catalyst, Radio Angling Club, and then the second one was I never got pocket money. If you go out of the war into the 50s, it was a tough old time living in Britain. We won the war, but I think the Germans are much better off. They got their country rebuilt, loads of money, blah blah, whereas we were the country was in poverty, really was struggling, and it really was a tough time. And then as a result of that, say my parents were working really hard just to basically survive. We only had meat once a week. Well, I'll rephrase that. They could only afford a joint of meat once a week, so we used to have a roast on Sunday, and then my mum would spread that to another 2 days, like cold meat on the Monday, then she'd mince it up and make a shepherd's pie or whatever on the Tuesday. It was a tough old time. So I never got pocket money, so I was doing a paper round, relief paper round, and then I was stacking shelves in Tesco's as well, because I liked having a bit of money. I was a bit of, And then I was in Tesco's one day and I got a tap on my shoulder, and it was a lady who was a manageress of the tackle shop in Rayleigh. He said, "Oh, you're the little boy who always comes in the tackle shop?" I said, "Yeah." Well, they'd lost their Saturday boy, so I got the job.
Right.
So that was the two catalysts. Getting into Rayleigh Angling Club, which gave me a passion, interest in carp fishing, and then getting a job in the tackle shop. And was like a dog's bollocks. The kids at school. Yeah. And the amount of money I was earning as well. Between those three jobs, I had all the latest kit. I'd be down the angling club with like my free Mark IV carp rods, and all the adults, struggling mortgages or whatever, had all this tatty gear. I think I worked out then that those three jobs brought me in half an adult salary.
Really? Yeah.
Blimey.
Yeah, and with no outgoings.
And
so,
how old were you then?
Huh? 14.
14.
So it gave me a taste for the good things in life.
Yeah.
And I've brought my two boys up the same. I.e., you've got to work hard, to what you achieve. But I gave them a taste of the good things in life, so they would work hard.
Yeah.
And it's worked out pretty well. And then my dad was a craftsman. He actually was what's referred to as a vehicle bodybuilder. So they would just take a chassis and build a lorry up, from just a chassis. Prior to that, he did his trade in cars. So they would build a car from the chassis up, because it was all wooden then, and all the panels were handmade. He was a real craftsman, so that kind of DNA was in me as well, and so I always liked doing practical things. So it wasn't long before I was rod building, making rods for customers in the shop and all that. And I guess that would have been my first step into business, making rods for customers. I remember a company called Sunridge, that don't exist now. They started offering blanks with built handles.
Right. So
you could buy the rod, the handle built, and just put rings on it. And so I was buying the semi-built rods off me boss, and then building them for customers.
Right.
Because anyone in those days would know how to whip on rings and all that, build your own rods.
So in terms of availability, Dan, we're a little bit spoilt these days. I suppose back then, Kev, was it hard to get your hands on tackle, or was there many brands about in that era?
God, you kids are so naive.
Naive.
Well, naive.
It was all round Dick Walker, so you could buy a 10-foot carp rod based on a design by Dick Walker from 2 or 3 brands. The reels we was using was Mitchell 300s being the real reel. There's a couple of companies that did hooks that they claimed were carp hooks, and more like bent 4-inch nails.
Sharp then.
Yeah. There's a company called FGco that did a landing net. It was metal pole and arms. I reckon the mesh alone probably weighed 5 kilos. It would take 2 years to lift it. I can't think of any other carp tackle that was available then.
Really?
Yeah.
So
when I really got into it and we really kicked off, for example, I made my own one-piece suit.
Yeah.
We started fishing in winter. I made that out. I got a sleeping bag, cut that into a pattern. Then I put one of the survival tinfoil blankets behind that, and then a top layer of nylon. And you could hear me walking along from like 5 miles away. I made me first insulated boots as well. You had to make everything.
So like you say, everything that we were taking for granted now, every single one of them back then was a problem, which you were like, I need to find a solution for this. I need to be warmer. I need better footwear. And it's quite funny, like you say, that we can just go into the tackle shop and there is everything. But
there was no luggage.
Yeah.
There was no terminal tackle. You hadn't gone that far. Basically, it's all what we call free lining. You just the bait was your weight, if you like.
Yeah.
So it was lined straight from the reel through the rod rings, and then you attached a potato, or then went on to specials. Specials were like mixes of cat food or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was the weight of the bait that was what you cast out.
Yeah.
And so that basically was the 10-foot through action rods of Walker. It was only when we started experimenting with baits which are lighter that we had a problem getting them out. So we then started using lead, because carp couldn't take any resistance. You had no resistance at all in your setup, which is why we avoided lead. The myth, completely 180 degrees was wrong. But so we started using really sensitive running lead setups, just so we had the lead weight to cast further. And so from that we started using sea blanks. There was a famous shop in Southend called Goings, really famous sea angler shop. And so I was going down there and basically taking bass blanks and building them into carp rods, which was equivalent now, I guess, to you walking over your local lake and seeing a guy with a shark rod. Say that's how alien it was. And it was all one piece, you was a dog bollocks if you had one piece rods. And so you had these
piece rods.
You still 12 foot or?
I think they was 11 then.
Oh, still
11. I think it was around 11.6. But you weren't cool unless you had a one piece blank. And so you used to get these rod straps that would fit in the gutter of your roof.
Right.
Yeah, you clip your blanks in there. You didn't have reels on, remember?
Yeah.
Because we still, every time we got to lake, so you had your one piece rods. And I really got into the casting scene. In fact, a lot of this I'm just a bit embarrassed is in my book, so other people read it. But in the winter we used to go piking up Abberton. Right, and I got into this theory about accelerating tip speed. So I'm thinking if I could have a load in the rod that when you cast it would go to the tip, that would increase the tip speed. Well, I had a friend who's somehow hooky managed to get some mercury from a dentist.
Oh, that's a bit dangerous. That.
So I loaded the rod with this mercury, right? And I just knew it would work. You imagine, you've got this liquid, like it's almost like a slide hammer, isn't it? So you whack it, all that energy is going to go up the tip. Yeah, I was going to cast for miles. So I built these 3 bass blanks, or 2 bass blanks I think it was, and gone up to Abberton, for this winter's pike fishing session, because we was on fishing long range dead baits and smelt as far as we could get. And I was going to whack my smelt further than anyone else. In one of Essex's prime drinking reservoirs, and when I whacked it, I hadn't realised that of course the glue and the whipping that stuck the tip ring on wasn't going to be sufficient. All the mercury's gone flying out the top straight into Abberton reservoir.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I didn't hear of anyone dying from mercury poisoning from drinking ecstasy water.
Or if they did, they know where to come now.
Yeah, exactly. Just blowing it right.
Just blowing it, yeah. It was only tackle, of course. There's no baits available either.
Yeah.
Like you got now. Yeah.
So at what point did you think there's a massive gap in the market for all of this?
I never did.
Oh, really?
No.
There was no eureka moment when you thought, this carp fishing thing's going to be massive and I need to kind of supply it. I need to be the one who...
It wasn't what that was about.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm kind of proud of my past, that I come from a very small group of pioneers who pioneered the sport because I love it. We didn't come into sport to make money. We come into the small sport to promote it and have enough money to go fishing.
Yeah.
So, it was never a business. Rod Hutchison, for example, Martin Locke. We all come in because of our passion for it. And just wanted to make enough money from it to go fishing, as opposed to the Foxes, Danny Fairbrasses, who saw a massive opportunity to make loads of money, which they was right. And that's kind of why those brands become so big. Fox specifically. He saw the potential through me, and decided, there was an opportunity to make loads of money as a businessman.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, I was just running the business to give me the fishing. You know, yeah, and that's why he soon swamped me, because, you know, it was a pure business rather, you know, this is just a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah, and it
point...
kind of, how it started was, I got married in the mid-70s. The interest rate was 4% then, and then it shot up to 15%. And you know, I just couldn't even cover my mortgage payments. You know, and you know, I was moonlighting. I was working in a cold, dark shed, 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, for an engineering company after I'd done my whole day's work. But the point is, I just didn't have any money to go fishing. In fact, my dear friend Bill Lovett was a salesman at the time, and he was giving me a little bit of cash, but I was giving him my petrol receipts, and he was cashing them in, you know, as if he'd put the petrol in his car.
Right.
You know, I really didn't have a pot to piss in, you know, and so, you know, I could hardly take the income that's coming into the family when the mortgage is negative, could I? You know, and start with missus, if you like. And so that's when I started making tackle. Started with landing nets, fiberglass landing nets, or it started with machine the blocks, so you can get 2 bits of fiberglass as arms and a pole, you know, to make a fire. Because remember, I told you previously, you needed 2 people to lift on these metal landing nets. Yeah. So I just started. It's just survival, really, trying to find ways of making a few quid so I could afford to go fishing.
Right. And I guess also coupled with the fact that it was just, like I said earlier, solutions to problems you're finding. As you say, the landing nets being ridiculously heavy. How can we make these lighter?
The sack thing's a great example of that. You know,
see, I always, so is the sacks the first thing that you really got into?
Yeah, because, well, the first thing that really made me money, I guess.
Right.
I was fishing with 2 guys called Bob and Eric, and we was using Hessian potato sacks in those days.
And anyone in this day and age must just think, what, Hessian potato? Because obviously carp care is such a big thing now.
Yeah.
But that was how it was done.
That's how it was done. And unfortunately, Eric lost a carp on one very hot summer's night because, you know, the oxygen exchange for him was useless. And yeah, via a girlfriend I was seeing at the time. This was after my marriage has ended now, by the way. And I found this material in her shop, and, you know, black material, and just put it under the tap, and the water just fell through it. So I got her to make me up some sacks, and then made them up for Eric and Bob as well. Well, we was visiting a lot of carp lakes, which is unusual for that time. Normally carp anglers may have stayed on a lake, I don't know, their whole life, in an effort to catch a population. Maybe they did, and they just never realised they was getting recaptures. But I was lucky enough to get onto the H&V baits, the high nutrient value baits, high protein baits. So we was hitting waters, catching the fish, and then moving on. So we was probably the first people in Essex that were really, touring lakes, if you like, hammering them and moving on. And so I was going onto lakes, and people have seen these carp sacks and saying, "Wow, can you make me some?" So I started producing sacks for other people, and then word got back to tackle shops like the famous Simpsons of Turnford and Bates 78, and so they were ringing me up and saying, "Oh, we've heard that you're making carp sacks. Can you make us some?" So that's how it really started.
Yeah. What was the next step after that?
Slings. Doubled my product range to slings.
And so was it at this point where you thought, I've got a knack for this and I'm going to just keep going? Or was it, again, just finding solutions to your own problems? And
well, the sling thing come about because Del Romang, who Delkim, bite alarms, he actually started producing sacks in the beginning. Used a different material which wasn't as good. It's called industrial nylon, didn't have the oxygen exchange, so he had to punch loads of holes in it. He then made a sling, and so I bought one of his slings, and it had a carp chute out the end. Right. It was literally a sling. It had no way, no retention at either end, and so I made a sling with gussets at either end, which was far more efficient. Well, stopped the carp flying out. So that was my second product. Then, for example, I was getting lumps, 36-inch. This girlfriend I was telling you about.
Is this the same one, Kev?
Yeah,
or
her
is it another
family
one?
her family were scrap metal merchants, super rich. You cannot believe how rich they were. And a brother, they had a yard at Rayleigh, and I was in there one day and I saw these lengths of stainless steel rod, 1/8 an inch, 36 inches long. Well, this is when we was putting silver paper and that, sliding it down the rod, as our indication. And so I took a load to this show, and people saying, "Oh, I don't want that long." I'll never forget, Bill Lovett, and so the guy I mentioned earlier is with me, saying he found a file in his car. And so there's the only thing we had. We didn't have a saw to cut them, so we was filing them off, and selling them, and as a point of reference, that show I'm talking about, that Carp show, I was selling sacks, slings, and stainless steel needles. There was Del Romang there, I think, also selling sacks. There was 2 tackle shops. The one I said, Goings in Southend, and one called Alan Brown's in Hitchin, that was very famous. That was in essence, the tackle show at that Carp show. Mental.
So you talk about tackle. Obviously, the bait is a huge part of Nash as a company overall now. Did you ever see Nash bait being transformed into what it is today? I mean, with the bait factory and everything we've got, did you ever envision that growth and that element of the business as well?
Not at all. I actually started selling bait very soon after I started selling tackle, i.e. the carp sacks. It was carp sacks, slings, the needles, and then I added a range of flavours, because I was always hugely involved in bait. So if you wanted bait, you had to make it. So you had to learn how to put a bait together. So I was very interested in nutrition, very interested in flavours, blah blah blah. And so the company it was never called Nash Tackle in the beginning. It was called Happy Hooker Bait and Tackle, and that kind of is an illustration of how seriously I took it. The Happy Hooker name come from a quite famous book at the time, written by a American lady of the night, called The Happy Hooker. This American, and I just thought, what a great name. So I took the piss out of myself, and it all right from the beginning. And I had a group of testers, including famous names like Zen Boko and Phil Harper, and they were called the Happy Hookers. But so we didn't take it seriously, and so I had these bait flavour range, and Rod had started as well, again out of necessity. He was a scaffolder, and work got really poor because of the recession. And not only that, he'd gone to Savay. Rod was a lodger with me, and then he just left lodgings and went to Savay and got absolutely absorbed in Savay. And I think he decided he didn't want to ever work or be a scaffolder again. After the Savay experience. And the fact he cleared out the family's bank account. I had his wife ring me one day and said, "Oh, have you seen Rod?" I said, "No, I haven't seen him for a couple of months." And she said, "Oh, he's cleared out our bank account."
Oh, God.
And another time he went home and took the telly and everything and sold it all. That's how obsessed he was.
Just so he could go fishing?
Just so he could spend all that time
fishing. Yeah, that is an obsession, that is.
Yeah, it was an obsession. Needs to say, the marriage to Sue Hutchison didn't last much longer after
I can't
that.
imagine myself getting away with that one for very long.
Well, I remember her ringing me up. She rang me up the first time and said, he's cleared the bank account. And she said, "Have you seen Rod?" She said, "I've come home now and the telly's gone." That's a true story. But so he, again, he just wanted to find a way of funding his fishing. But seeing the how easy it was to sell the carp sacks, he got a local girl in the town village to start making them as well, and so he's kind of treading on my toes. Anyway, we was both flat out, could hardly cope. Bearing in mind, hardly cope meant we want to do a few hours work to fund enough to go to go fishing all the time, but it just got out of hand. It was getting more work than we wanted, so we did a deal. The deal was that I would concentrate on tackle and he'd concentrate on the bait. So I stopped selling flavours and that, and started and just concentrating on the tackle. So I sold Rod, if you like, the sacks instead of him getting them made himself.
Yeah.
And that was my exit out the bait game. And then in 1988, Rod got in financial trouble, and he asked me if I would take an equal share in his company. It was called Catchem, and basically just wanted me to get it out of trouble and take over the management of it in every way, because all he wanted to do was go fishing. Then he was hugely into the French scene. We're now talking, this is the pioneering time of Cassine and all that. Mm-hmm. And he just wanted to say to go fishing, and that's why his business got in trouble then. I turned it round, nearly bankrupted Nash Tackle at the time. The company was split. We retained the name Catchem, and Rod started again as Rod Hutchison Products, if I recall. But the whole saga got washed. The dirty linen got washed in public, thanks to Tim Paisley. And there's all sorts of uncertainty. The Scopex, for example, who had the original Scopex? Well, Catchem did, but Rod's telling people his was the original. So it had a massive impact on Catchem's sales and indeed Rod's sales. No one knew what was what, and so our sales in the UK really did deteriorate. They were still good in Europe, however. I say Rod was a legend because of his fishing over in France and all that, but the sales in England were really poor. And I said to I inherited Gary Bays for me sins, and always said it cost me 180 grand, and he bankrupted me to save Catchem, and all I got out of it was bloody Gary Bays. Not a good deal, bless him. But I said to Gary one day, I was concerned that shops were saying they couldn't sell, the bait, and it was sitting on their shelves. I didn't want that to have an impact on the tackle, so I said I'm thinking of pulling out in England. And he really didn't want to do that, obviously, because of his passion for it. Anyway, then I was very friendly with Rob Mading, who was a megastar then. So we done a deal with Rob, and we rebranded as Obsession, Rob Mading Obsession, and it completely fell flat. I never realised at that time that you need to be around for donkey's years before anyone knows who you are. Another example is that Terrier, and Terrier caught his first 1540s on Nash bait, and yet Monster Pursuit was the one I think he caught 14 out of those 1540s on, and yet it was nowhere near our top selling bait. It takes a really long time to be an influence, so that fell flat. So again, I'm saying to Gary, I want to pull out. And he really wasn't. I just said, okay, then we'll have one more go at Nash bait under the name Nash bait. After I said it, I thought, what have I done? Because everyone blames the bait when they're not catching. They don't blame themselves, do they?
No, of course not.
It's always the bait, isn't it? Not the fact you cast it up a tree, or you ain't got a blooming clue on location or anything. Always blame the bait. So I was really worried that it could have an impact on the tackle sales, if they weren't good enough to catch. And anyway, cut long story short, we launched it. I'll never forget, the phone never stopped ringing, and it was always the same message: well, the tackle's awesome, so the bait must be as well.
Works the other way.
Yeah, it was
worked the other way around.
180
we never looked back. We never looked back.
Incredible.
And here we are today.
Yeah.
With a big factory for bait now. I'm not sure, Kev, the numbers in terms of tonnage of what we produce now. I don't know if you...
I'll tell you an incredible statistic that I was only told this morning. We are using 1.6 million chicken eggs a month. Get your head round that.
1.6 million
chicken eggs a month.
A month?
Yeah. Get your head round that.
That is
few
absolutely... That is a few omelets.
It is a few omelets.
It was interesting, actually. We had a new guy start last week, and I took him to the bait factory and whatnot to show him about, and Max was available to give him a full tour of that, from egg all the way to a finished boiling. I'd never seen our factory and how it works, and I'd seen bits of it, but he just took me through step by step what we did, and I thought it was dead interesting, really, 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 really good. And he was telling me it's like 2 to 3 tons a day, something like that, or a shift, or
yeah, it's 2 to 3 tons a shift, I think.
I think a shift, yeah, depending on what size of boiler is being rolled and whatnot, which I thought, cool, that's a lot. But then when you think about how far we go, the whole way across Europe,
take a little while to do that in your kitchen with a rolling table.
Yeah, exactly. But
it used to take us 4 hours to roll about a pound.
Yeah,
a pound of bait. Yeah, and that is interesting. That was one. We used to have a problem with what I used to call bait recognition. In the early days, we'd hit lakes, and it would take 2-3 years in many cases for them to get on the bodies.
Right.
And it was simply because we was putting so few out, they didn't recognise it as a food source worth investigating. We could have, put, like I said, we probably rolled a pound, maybe a pound and a half, 2 pound, in 4 hours in an evening, and that'd be split between 3 of us. And have you ever thrown a kilo of bait on the floor? It doesn't look a lot, does it?
No.
And so the carp were just swimming over it, not really even bothering to take an interest in it, because there wasn't enough of it there to pique their interest.
Evolution of it, I suppose.
That's it. Was there a point when you thought it's either going to be give fishing 100% or go with the business 100%?
That came somewhere in the early 2000s.
Right.
The businessmen that had come in, as I said, were really beginning to make an impact on my business, specifically Fox. I would add, there's no criticism in anything I'm saying here. It's how it happened. He was really eating into my business, and our turnover really started dropping. And I think if I hadn't grown up, that's a word I'll use, Nash probably wouldn't be here today, because still then it was the same happy hooker mentality. I've got this business purely to give me a lifestyle of going fishing, and then our turnover's really dropping, because basically we're amateurs, and Fox was certainly not an amateur.
Well-oiled machine.
Well-oiled, professional. It's his dad's knowledge he got, his dad's money, and my ideas basically. But the business was starting to really suffer, and I kind of finally grew up. I recognised this wasn't only about selfish me. We employed a lot of families, who relied on Nash for a living, and so I got round to the point that I had to take it seriously and start treating it like a business. So, if you like, Nash is a very young business, because it only just started in the 2000s. Before that, it was a hobby.
No, incredible. Cool.
So early sort of 2000s, you say, is when you made that shift into focusing more on the business? Yeah. So away from business now, because I think we've spoke a lot about the company. Your fishing, Kev. Now, there's one story in particular that you've told me before that always sticks in my head, and I love it because it makes me laugh so much. Well, I shouldn't probably say that, because you lost the fish, but it's the snake pit common story.
Are you talking the yarn I told you about the hook?
That was it, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I'm on the snake pit. This is a 10-acre lake in Essex. I think the club had managed it a bit then, but it had 10 acres. 4 of those acres were underground, submerged islands with all trees on them. So Snag City, the other 6 acres was just a wee bed, and there's 2 carp in it at this time. 2 commons. One was the baby snake pit common, around 32. The other was, I think, around 45, the biggest common in the country. I'll tell you the story you want first, and then I'll tell you the story about the small one. I'll tell you the small one. I went over there, I think it was about a week into the season, blanked at the start, because I've been fishing over a dead body, unbeknown to me.
A what? Sorry.
A dead body. A dead body.
Just feeling the lead back. Oh, there's a bit of weed there when it's someone's.
I spent, I think it was 5 days fishing with a dead body in my swim.
Good job on that.
And then I went back. I went back the next week after dealing with that
Sorry to
saga.
interrupt. How did you find out there was a dead body down there?
Well, if you want to go into this, then I decided to go on a real campaign to catch this damn snake pit common. I won't bore you with sagas before. So I started baiting this area. It was solid weed. Snake pit was solid weed. So I thought if I start early enough in the season before the weed really establishes, I should be able to clear an area if the fish are visiting it, and they keep it cleared, because otherwise you just by June the 16th or the end of June it just was unfishable. So I started baiting the March with a mixture of maggots, hemp and boilies. The maggots and the hemp were for the few rudd and roach and tench in there, and eels. I say few, but I wanted to try and get everything visiting the spot to keep it clear, and it did work. It did work. What started as a little tiny patch of 6-9 inches was growing, considerably as we're getting into May. The next thing I needed to understand was, was there any carp visiting it? So I decided to start also baiting with tiger nuts, and the tiger nuts were getting eaten. And then I made myself a bucket with an inch thick piece of glass in the bottom, and I could see carp poo, with the colour, my bait in it, which is a reddish pink. So I was really confident, I had the carp visiting it. And by June the 16th, this little area that started as 9 inches wide is as big as this lodge, so it really was buzzing. And June the 15th, a couple of friends come down that afternoon, and the big common rolled right over my marker. I finally catch this. I'll never forget, I've gone to midnight, put the rods out, so confident, it's going to be just a short matter of time. And I remember waking up and it's broad daylight and the indicators hadn't moved, that real sinking feeling, I'm out of bite, what the hell, and same thing next, blah, blah. Anyway, I pulled off, I think after 5 days. I had to go to a fishing tackle show in Holland that weekend, so I just did that 5 days. And apparently an hour after I pulled off, the police arrived to start searching the lake for a missing person. And what had happened was that he'd gone to a party, got drunk and decided to walk home, and somehow he walked through the gate of the snake pit and walked straight into the corner, if you like, where I was fishing, and managed to drown himself. I never heard a thing, by the way. And I just sat there fishing for 5 days with him in the swim, which might explain why the carp never come back.
Yeah, it's going to ruin your chances, that, isn't it?
Yeah, and then the spot just covered up that quick, blah blah. Anyway, I think it might have been 2 or 3 weeks later, I went over there and arrived, and there was a guy standing there. He used to fish it a bit. I said, "You seen anything?" He said, "Yeah, I've just seen the carp patrolling along this bank." I went, "Right." He said, "I'm going to fish round the other side." You think, what? You've been there before me, and he spotted him. He's going to go right to the other side for his favourite swim. So I stood there watching, and I guess there was a margin of weed sticking out about 10 foot all the way down this bank. And sure enough, as I stood there watching, I saw both the commons appear, mooch down the margin. I walked, alongside them, 100 or whatever metres, 150. It would have been maybe even 200 long, and then turn around and come back. And I watched them do that several times. Well, at the far end, I noticed there was like an indent in the weed, so it went 10 foot out. Well, it went into kind of a horseshoe hole, and they was turning round in that, before they went back. So I thought, okay, turn round point is a great spot for an ambush. There wasn't a swim there, it's just a sheer bank, but there was a little area, probably about a metre, maybe square, where clearly a matchman had cleared an area at the bottom to put his box on. So I thought, well, that'd do. So I went down, managed to get my bed chair on it, but it was all brambles. So I set my umbrella up, my oval, and pushed that into the brambles to hold it all back. And that's my fishing spot. There's another little story, by the way. This is when I got my first mobile phone, which was about the size of a house brick then. Yeah. Changed my life, because I used to always have issues at work, be stressing, always be up and down to the phone. Now I've got my own mobile phone. I bought it that day, 999 quid. So,
oh my word.
So I put my bed up, put the phone on it, got the oval out, gone whoosh, knocked it straight into the lake. A few bubbles come up, grabbed it, never worked again.
Well, yeah.
Never worked again. But so I've got myself in a swim. Put the rods out. So this is real margin fishing, true margin fishing, literally 6 foot out. Anyway, a couple of mates turned up that evening with a load of tinnies. So I clambered up the banks. I wanted to keep it quiet, and sat there drinking with them, and off they went. And so I've gone to bed. It's first light, 3 o'clock or whatever. I've had a single bleep. Shot up straight away, and I saw one tiny bubble, a gill bubble, come up right over the spot. Yeah, they're here. Yeah, but they're only 6 foot away. And this was one of the original Fox bed chairs, where as soon as you moved it, creak. Yeah. Anyway, I went to have a pee, so I started moving. The bug chair's gone creak. I'm paranoid. The carp's only 6 foot away. So I thought, no, I can't. So I laid back. But, it's busting. I'm really having agony. I've got to go. So I've got to get up. So I start creak again. So, I'm really in pain. You know what it's like when you really have got to go? There's no worse pain, is it? You might as well cut your bollocks off. That probably doesn't hurt anymore. Anyway, I'd been drinking this bottle of lemonade through the night as well. And so I've got this little spot next to my bed, which if I'm going to get off my bed, that's where me feet are going to go. I've only got socks on. So I can't pee on that. And that's why I wanted to get up and have a pee in the bushes. So anyway, I got the lemonade bottle out and I've tried to, line it up. Ladies, I haven't got the biggest knob by any means in the world, but it would not go in the top of a Corona lemonade bottle. So anyway, I've lined it up and I've had me pee. Oh, the relief. I can still feel that relief now. I've just laid back and bleep! I'm up and, before you know it, I'm playing this carp. And it's gone off, plodded off, and it went solid. Well, this is where I had a bit of luck, because there is another angler on there. He's one of the committee, right? And he's over there to keep an eye on me, basically to try and chuck me out. Because when we first moved on the snake pit, you've got to imagine this situation, suddenly out of nowhere, a 40-pound common carp is caught in Essex. That's equivalent to like a 65, 70 now. So anyone who is anyone, in other words, Phil Harper, me and Zen and Boko were on there like straight away. Well, it was a match club. There's all match clubs then who were really anti carp fishing. And I'd had a couple of bailiffs come round and it's really beginning to pester us, keep coming over, because this is when it was 2 rods. Well, no way we were using 2 rods. We always wanted to use 3 rods. Like you had your arm cut off. If you couldn't use your 3rd rod, you'd been brought up on them. So I thought, how can we stop these flipping match club bailiffs coming over? So I went to this committee meeting on this Wednesday night. I never forget it. It was literally a shed. And they're all sitting there, talking a load of bollocks about whatever. And I volunteered to be a bailiff for that snake pit, which I was really grateful of, because none of them wanted to go around there anyway. So I got myself the job of bailiff. So I installed the rules, like the person fishing nearest the gate on the Friday night had to go and get the takeaway. Phil Harper had to wear 6-inch stilettos and stockings, whenever he fished. We had some really great rules. But I think kind of word got back to the club that the way I was running it were not rules that they would have found appropriate. Anyway, so this bailiff is on to me and trying to get me. So it was lucky, like I said. So he's come round because it's suddenly gone solid. I can't believe it. I've been on this place 4 years. I've just finally hooked my first proper carp and it snagged me. I could feel it coming, just slowly easing. So I kept the pressure on steady as I could. And I'm looking through the depths and I suddenly could see this red strip. I thought, what is that? And it's got come up and it's coming up and it's coming up. And I could see the word Sainsbury's on it. It was a supermarket trolley. It was used. The snake pit was used like a dump by all the locals. And one of them dumped a trolley in there with no bottom in it, and this bloody carp's run straight for the middle.
Oh, the carp's still on at this point.
To the bottom. It was. And that's why it was lucky this bailiff was here, because I don't know whether I ever would have got that out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I got the trolley into shallow water, gave me rod and pulled the trolley out. And then I had to pass my rod through the trolley bottom, then to get in contact back with the carp again. And landed it, the baby of the 2 snakebit commons at £32 or whatever. Over the moon, definitely one of my greatest captures. Bear in mind, say there was only 2 fish in the lake. And so I rang up Gary Bays. It was early in the morning, and that's something I'll never forget. He arrived like 45 minutes later. He's like lived an hour plus away. He must have done. Gary always was a mad driver. Anyway, we took it. Managed to. It's a bank with shears. I said it's little spots. So we took it up on the main path to photograph it, and photographed it. And then Gary helped me get it back down to the water's edge and found this little square. Anyway, I put it back, another mile in it, and Gary, tapped me on the back, said, "Well done, mate." And I looked round, he's drinking me lemonade. Anyway, so that was the first comment.
Gary didn't bat an eyelid.
Well, do you know what? I didn't tell him for a year.
Oh, really?
And when I did tell him, he just went, "Tastes all right to me."
It's typical Gary.
Classic Gary. Yeah. Anyway, a few weeks later, I was back over there, the opposite end actually, the gate, the famous gate swing where the dead body had been. I haven't even told you a story about how I spent a weekend with a murderer over there. But anyway, so I was in the gate swim, and just to my left, literally again, probably no more than 6 foot along the bank, I saw a fish swirl. It was by a dead branch, and so I kept watching it. An hour or two, I think it was a tench. An hour or two later, it swirled again, and I saw a huge gold flink. And I thought, oh my God, snake becomes only 6 foot away, and it's probably must have been the swirl before. Anyway, it was all inflatable work there because of solid weed. So I got the boat out, and in amongst this solid weed, where this branch sticking up the bottom was a shelf, and it was all cloudy. It's clear to me that something had been feeding there. A mate turned up, and it's ridiculous. I only saying, well, it wasn't 6 foot, it's probably 10 foot along the bank. Ridiculous only that it sounds that, I asked him to hold me rod, and I took the boat out to lower it on this spot, which is only about a foot, say, all surrounded by weed on this cloudy spot. And this was, I already had 3 rods out, so it was like my 4th rod, my marker rod, that I'd, was utilising for this. And I only had 1 bank stick. And so I just rested the rod on the front bank stick with the alarm, sticking up in the air. And it was dark, and it always used to be the local hanger-ons used to come round. I think it was Damien Clark, actually, and one of his oppos come round and sit in me swim. And suddenly, crack, as it's gone out the clip, the rod tip steamed over. The butt come up in there. I actually caught it, lifted the rod went straight over. Hook fell out. Oh, the sheer power, I felt in that millisecond. I just knew it was a big snake pit common, because the other one, the 30, was just, it was fat and it was long. It used to plot. I caught that a few weeks before. The awesome power of this fish, I just knew it was a big one, and I'd seen Zenon and actually Damien Clark, both hook it, and so I knew, I just knew I'd lost it. I was absolutely gutted. Everyone disappeared, and I was sitting there, and I don't know whether you've ever been there where you've had a right trauma in your fishing and you have to pick up the phone and ring someone, right? Well, it's the worst thing could happen to me, in my life at that time, in my head. And so I've rang a mate, not quite doing a Mikey Wilson, but trust me, I'm close, very close, crying, blah, blah. And so, I told him I've just lost a snake pit common, blah, blah. And he said, oh, fuck you, mate. He said, I'm gutted for you. He said, here's a phone number. Ring this number to cheer you up. Who is it? Oh, just ring it. So I hung up. And I'm sitting there, I'm just, blah, blah. And I thought, well, whose number is this? I'm thinking, is it some bird or whatever? So I rang it. And it's answered as the Samaritans. And immediately, I realised he's had me over, but I feel really bad because these people are doing a really important job. I said to the lady, I said, oh look, I've been tricked by a mate. I said, I've had a little bit of a crisis, but nothing to do with what you people deal with. No, I'm going to. She said, no, because they're obviously trained, blah blah. Not to let anyone hang up, because I said, no, really, it's not important, in the scheme of things. She said, no. She said, please stay on the line, tell me what's happened. I said, really, love? I said, all I've done is lost the fish. She said, what? She lost. She said, really, you must stay on the line and talk to me. Oh, for God's sake. So what's happened? So I told her the whole story. Told the whole story out, put me bait. Oh, well, what I didn't tell you, the reason I lost that damn carp is negligence on my part. When I've given my mate Rob the rod, right, he's put it on bait runner, right, and he's wound the bait runner really loose, okay? And so when I got back to the bank, I put the line in the line clip and the bait runner is silly loose. So when it smashed out the line clip, we had all this loose line, which, I always, about you guys, but I always have maximum tension on my drag when they're roaring off, and I never checked it, so I'm feeling even worse. I can't blame you, mate. I should have checked it, so I'm feeling really worse. And I told her the story how I'd lost it, and she just said to me, she said, I'm just so saddened for you. She said, I really feel bad for you. And I said, oh, bless you, it's very nice. And I said, but look, I've spent enough of your time. I'll get off the phone. She said, can I just suggest one thing before you go? I said, no, what's that? She said, next time use a bigger hook.
That was a bit that got me. It got me. Oh no, that was one of my favourite stories. You actually included more with that than what I'd heard before then, but imagine phoning the Samaritans because you've lost the car. Imagine what they do this day and age. Do you think they'd still...
like you say, they can't let someone hang up. So
no,
it must have been
they're trained
this must be really serious. And you're just going, no, please, just don't make me tell this story again.
So obviously, Kev, there's going to be so many things you've experienced on the bank and throughout your angling career and business career, but is there anything that stands out as a highlight for you?
Angling highlight.
This is, yeah. So fishing related.
Not really. I love life. Every moment. It doesn't sound a real cliche, but every day is a standout moment of life. There's so many stories. They've all blend into one. But you really want an answer, don't you? Angling highlights then.
Any one, okay, first one that comes into your head.
Well, I always would say the Essex 40, which is only one of four £40 carp caught that year. The Manor Big 'Un, that one sticks in my head. Like I said, the Snake Pit, that's 3. Do you want me to go on?
Well, I think if anything, these are more to explore in a future episode.
That Essex one's quite an interesting one. The fact that a lot of people won't be able to grasp the fact that, what'd you say, 1 of 4 40s caught that year. There's probably been 4 40s caught already today in the country. Do you know what I mean?
In the past 10 minutes.
Yeah. So for it to be 1 of 4 in the whole country, it just shows like how actual monumental that was.
And the first one from Essex.
And the first one from Essex, of course, famous Snake Pit.
No,
not Snake Pit, Silver End.
Yeah, which just shows the difference between that game then and now.
Yeah.
And that, that one is also very special to me because I met Roger Smith, the famous Roger Smith at Silver End Pit, who recently died. One of carp fishing's greatest characters. Probably not so well known amongst you youngsters, but a real legend in my generation. Savvy, he for example, is one of his claims of fame. He's the only guy, I think I'm right in saying, who caught the famous Sally, the common out of Savvy. Right. And I think he caught it 3 times. He definitely caught it twice. Yeah. In fact, there's a lovely story told at his funeral. He liked a beer, and they always, he used to insist you go to the horse and barge, every night. And they'd gone to the horse and barge, and they was all walking back, and Roger fell into the canal. And he come out claiming, "I've just seen Sally." He used to talk like that. "I've just seen Sally," and everyone's saying, "Oh, don't be stupid, Rod, you silly old soul." Well, Sally was never caught again from Savvy. And there was a flood, and a member claimed that he had seen Sally go down the sluice into the canal. Wow. So, did Roger really see Sally? We will never know. But he's Roger is responsible for a lot of the really great ethics in carp fishing. For example, no carp catches counted on Savvy or Harefield between the opening hours of the pub, which I think was very
what a brilliant role.
Which I think was very right. There was 2 guys I met on Harefield called Care Bear and Frogger, awesome anglers. Probably one of the biggest highlights of my. And you asked me the biggest highlight of my carp fishing career. I got Care Bear to go in the pub one lunchtime. One lunchtime. Yeah. And he kept looking at his watch. And I said, "Care Bear, what are you doing?" He said, "It's 23 hours and 40 minutes. I said, "What?" He said, "Since I caught the last carp." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I have to catch a carp every 24 hours. Yeah. If you caught 5 carp in a season at Harefield, you was the dogs. I think Chris or Care Bear, I think he caught 30 odd.
Wow.
Fishing machine. That's my biggest angling highlight. I dragged him off the Harefield one lunchtime and got him to sit in the pub for an hour or so.
So those 2 chaps would not come and join in on a social. They were fishing.
They're obsessed, but they could claim they had 30 odd carp, but I think they probably only caught 1 or 2.
As to Roger's
because most
rules.
of them are caught in the pub or something. Roger really installed some great carp fishing ethics. The point being, it's about more than catching carp.
Definitely.
I always, people say to me, "What was the most favourite lakes you fish?" I might say, well, that one for the fish and the captures, but Harefield for the crack. It was a great season. I had down there a season and a half. Some of my most treasured memories, and also some of my best inventions come from there. That's where the leg clip come from. That's where the whole big pit reel thing come from. So many ideas I had at Harefield. I was very fertile for ideas over there because it was such a incredible experience to me from the Essex lakes. I used to say, in Essex, the only bars I knew were the ones that served Foster's. Right. It was all small, lakes in comparison. None of these huge gravel pits with these huge bars covered in swan mussels. I'd never experienced anything like it till I went to the Colne Valley. So it was a massive area of fertile thinking for me. Dealing with how to stop being cut off. And it was on one particular winter's day after having 3 cut-offs in a row that I come up with the idea of the break-off leads that then led to the safety bolt for the bead, as I called it then, which is now known as the leg clip. You know, it was a very fertile time for ideas, but fishing-wise, you didn't really have a chance. It used to start on a Friday evening. You arrive Friday afternoon, and this weekend in my head I'm going to fish. Made up my mind. So red hot weather, really hot summer, so you're walking round, long walks, didn't have barrows or anything like that then. You're dying, you're sweating, and you're walking past, oh hi guys, walking past, oh hi Kev, you coming to the pub tonight? No, I'm fishing this weekend. Oh hi Kev, you coming to the pub this weekend tonight? No, I'm fishing this weekend. I really want to catch a carp. By the time you got to the back bank or whatever, sod it, I'm going up the pub. So get up the pub, all the guys are in there. We'd leave the pub when it closed at 11, and then it'd be up to the Harefield Indian for curry. So we'd go up there and have a curry. We'd get back to late, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And then it'd be a pub cast. And I once made the observation that 90% of the Harefield captures were on a pub cast. It was easy, you just whack it out, pull back until you felt clink, 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 the beginning of gravel, and drop it. Anyway, so you get your head down, and then first thing in the morning it'd be coming up the Harefield Calf. So we used to go up the Harefield Calf, and this is when you'd realise the folly of having a night in the booze, because the Harefield Calf did awesome breakfast, but the best part was the mushrooms. I don't know how they cooked them, in butter or whatever, but they were to die for. But again, Roger had installed a rule that you could only have mushrooms if you caught the day before. So you're sitting there, and the bloke obviously has got mushrooms. You really are gutted. Anyway, so go to the Harefield Calf. We'd walk out the Harefield Calf, say 12 o'clock, 11 whatever. Go to Horse and Barge. Have the afternoon session, leave there at 3, you're well boozed up, so you do a pub cast, get your head down, then you'd wake up at 6 o'clock, put your best clothes on, because on Saturday night it was dress up time, so we used to take all our party clothes, so you'd go up there Saturday evening, have a great night, leave the Horse and Barge at 12 whatever, go to the Indian again, get back Sunday morning, get your heads down for a few hours, get up, the Harefield Calf didn't open on Sunday, so we used to drive over to the Farlow's Calf. So Sunday morning we go to the Farlow Calf, get back, pack up, quick pint in the Horse and Barge and home.
So if anything, you just went to the pub.
Yeah, basically.
Or 10 hours over the night.
Yeah, that was about it. Yeah.
More time spent in the pub.
Cast rods out when you was asleep. But what a great year.
It sounds it as well. I'm a bit jealous of that era. There is a bit of me.
Met lots of amazing people, which are we're still great friends today.
Yeah,
an interesting story about Roger Smith. I first met him at Silver End. I won't bore you with the story, but I spent a week with him. And I never drunk then actually. And the season had opened. It's a season opened, so it was opening day. And it was lunchtime, and he's walked past me, him and this guy, Bob Baker, who was his fishing mate at the time. He said, "Come on, Kevin, we're going up the pub." I said, "Do what?" I said, "Roger, it's opening day." He said, "It doesn't matter, the carp will still be here when we come back." So, he persuaded me to, go him up the pub, and, that became the start of me getting it. And just like Roger, I always tried to select lakes that had a pub near them. Because I've never been the cook on the bank, which is bizarre. I love how much I love cooking, but I hate cooking on the bank. And so, you always used to find a pub where, I could just dash in at lunchtime, have a decent meal, put me bollocks over the sink and give them a wash. And so I've always, fished like that. So, but anyway, what I was going to tell you, that first week I met Roger at Silver End, he said, "You ought to make a rod holder like my old dad made me." His dad was an upholsterer, and he'd made him what we used to call a roll-up, where it was, in essence, a flat sheet of canvas with pockets. You put your rods in it and rolled it all up. Well, his dad had made him one that had square pockets up it for the reels to go in. Okay, so it was the first rod holder that would take made-up rods. Well, I tried to produce it with that girlfriend I told you about, but there was so much fabric, it really was difficult to get under the throat of the sewing machine. But that's when I had the idea to split it in half and have a zip in the middle. So we made the first rod holder with 3 real pockets on one side to take 3 made-up rods, and that was, the famous hooker rod holder, which, if I painted that, because I did paint it, but if I had the business acumen and knew how to protect it, I could have just made that and nothing else.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be at all if Chinese factories had made at least $100 million worth. There wasn't a Carp brand with a luggage range that didn't have a copy of that holder.
Yeah. I suppose if that was the first time you were storing rods made up, convenience of that. Yeah,
that was down to Roger Smith as well. So a big influence on my life and how I go about my life and my fishing.
No, it's brilliant that when you talk about angling, it's not just the fishing related times.
Yeah,
I think that means a lot. And explaining to people who ask why we go fishing, I get it all the time. My girlfriend's mum will be like, "You just go camping in the woods, you're weird." And I'm just like, no, I'm not. It's not just about the fishing. I've got a group of friends who all love doing the same thing, and it's
quite often it's these stories which crop up. Then it's always on the socials, and always when you're doing it with your pals, not when you're on your Todd and there's a really funny thing happened, but I was the only one there. The story never rolls like that, does it?
No, definitely not.
But it's really, I was really heartened at Roger's funeral, which ended up at the Horse and Barge, no supplies there. And I got, probably, I guess, half an hour before I left, I went outside, and 4 guys come up to me, comparatively young, in their 40s, I guess, and they was members of the water that Roger fished a lot with Kerry in Kent, and they got to know Roger really well. They they spoke so fondly of him, and specifically made the point, that he had taught them, that carp fishing was more about, a lot more than about, just head banging, wanting to catch this carp, fishing at all costs. And they kept saying about this guy, and I never knew Roger not say a bad word about anyone, but they mentioned this guy that Roger really didn't like on this lake.
Right.
Because he was rude, and it's fish at all costs. He had no ethics. And they said Roger really hated him. And I found it interesting talking to them, because I'd never, like I said, known Roger say a bad word to anyone. But I could see it. Because so nothing was more important than respect for fellow anglers and have a great time with them.
So
and that was Roger, and he managed to entrench that, in a different generation. That's really what I got out of it. So I went away heart warmed from that funeral. I really did.
Good.
He's passed on his to others.
Yeah, no, brilliant. I think that's exactly what fishing should be about. Well, certainly in my opinion, anyway.
Potentially answered what will probably be our last question. It's a question we asked to Alan, and he said you. So you can't say Alan, but it's like I say, I think I probably may know the answer. But who's the most influential person that you've ever fished with?
There is a pause. Difficult question.
Good one, isn't it? It's always a good one to end on. We should do it more.
There isn't really one. This is gonna. I hope this doesn't come across at all arrogant, but all through my fishing career, it's been about being at the top of your game, and doing it by pioneering and thinking out the box. So yes, lots of people crossed my path, and I picked up little bits from them, little ideas and all that, but there hasn't been a massive influence. It really hasn't. I've had to work it all out and think it all out myself. In the real early days, before I knew how to catch carp, I'll definitely say Rod Hutchison for that small window. But no, I fished with a lot of great names, and I picked up bits from them, and that have helped bring the picture together. No real big influence.
Yeah, I guess in a day.
I hope that doesn't sound arrogant.
No, I don't think it does, because I was about to say, in a day and age where you know, you were pioneering it. You were rubbing shoulders with, like you say, all those greats, and to pick one must be.
We all have to work, you know. We all worked together and worked it out. You know, it's really what goes back to the beginning of this, wasn't it? There wasn't any tackle. There wasn't any knowledge of carp fishing and how to catch them. You know, and so we was just kids just trying to work it out. You know, my first book, Memoirs of a Carp Fisher, Demon Eye. I wrote that really as a protest against this modern world of carp fishing now. You know, you just go and buy a load of tackle and some spod mix and whatever and just chuck it out. You're going to have loads of fish wrong. Yeah. That book was written in a very deliberate way. The fishing stories in it were all picked to give an example of the learning curve we went on. And the big lesson that was learnt, and hopefully there was a great, gag, story along the way as well. But I deliberately picked venues to show, the learning curve, the apprenticeship that we went on. So it's very different then. I'm just so lucky to have gone through that pioneering time.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Sounds incredible.
Yeah, and again, I think we can't really relate without experiencing that. I suppose, Dan, for us, it's impossible to.
A question we asked Dave Mag was, would you rather fish 20 years ago or be able to jump into the future 20 years not knowing what the future holds?
There's only one answer.
I think for anyone, that question is only one answer in there.
Well, for me, for the pubs.
Well, for me, it wouldn't be 20 years ago. It was too late. Yeah. The excitement and everything that was good about carp fishing ended by, say, 1995.
Yeah.
The real awesome period was the 70s through the 80s.
I always think 20 years ago was the 80s still, but it really isn't, is it?
No,
20 years ago is 2000s.
when you.
So like you say, that's 40 years
But
ago.
it wasn't just carp fishing. I mentioned earlier about how tough it was for people after the war. But suddenly those handcuffs, were cut. There was a bit of money around. And so many things kicked off, didn't they? From motorsport to music. Everything just went bang. In terms of experimentation, pioneering. One of my lesser known what sits the fame is I went and saw Jimi Hendrix at the Isle of Wight.
Right.
I think I was 14 at the time. One of the greatest concerts in the history of music. So Jimi Hendrix died shortly after. My parents, by the way, thought I was fishing that weekend down Rayleigh Angling Club. But so the whole of Britain, just really on fire. Just such an exciting place. And booming angling. Was carp fishing was just one of those many elements. It was great to be a youngster in those days. I certainly would not want to be one nowadays. With all the scary shit, but it was a lovely time. To be growing up.
Something we'll never experience again in fishing, carp fishing.
I'm not. Well, I guess it's an era in English history that is going to be a very long time before say there's anything like that again. Pre-computers, pre-colour TV. It's just so much technology has come about now.
Wealth of information for everything these days. You wouldn't be able to avoid it. You wouldn't be able to.
I think that's it. Alf, you going to wrap up with your last question?
Yeah, I think, first of all, thank you, Kev, for coming on the podcast. It's been a really interesting chat. As always, we're looking forward to having you on. One thing I want...
listeners bored, Nick. He's falling asleep.
No, of course not. Not with a podcast. Well, keep you entertained on a long drive or whatever.
No, that's behind the camera. Luke!
No, yeah.
20 people died on the M25 this day, falling asleep listening to Nash's podcast.
No, I'm sure not.
The government is going to ban the podcast.
Well, what did they're thinking of banning hands-free, I saw today. So that might be that they ban hands-free and then ban podcasts after this.
What? I always wondered. It was only a matter of time. But it won't be long before we're not even driving the damn things, is it?
No.
The car I bought me missus. It even tells her what the speed limit is. Talk about writing on the wall. So the next thing, they'll be governing your speed, won't they? You won't be able to drive over that speed. And then you won't even be steering it. We all end up in the same capsules. All these car companies are all consolidating. Why do you need individualism in cars if they're all going to be going the same speeds and whatever? It'd just be like silver boxes, I reckon, in the end.
Maybe in 20 years' time, if we're sat here, well, who knows?
Yeah, as long as I can get my fishing stuff in the back of that 20 silver box, I'll be happy.
Yeah,
that could
we
be a problem,
teleported it.
couldn't it? Yeah. Have to have a longer silver box since there'd be 2 models, wouldn't there?
As long as I can have it in camo, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
To round things off then, Kev, I've always been curious of this, especially with your live streams and that, what you prefer out of the two. Are you a brandy or a beer man? Because I know you like both.
Right, well, I've always been a significant beer drinker, but what happens as you get older, especially as old as me, and I know I'm not alone in this, your ability to take large volumes of beer dramatically reduces. But with me, I love a beer, but once I've eaten, I can't possibly face a beer, and so I have to go on the shorts. So it's brandy after my meal in the evening, and beer all day long. If you
All
like.
day long, yeah. The perfect combination.
I now drink a lot of Wise beer. I love Wise beer. You ever had Wise beer?
Wise beer? I feel
It's
like I should know more about that.
It's a German beer. It's made from wheat. I think Wise means white, or it might be wheat, but it's a German wheat beer.
Yeah.
Made from, and it's white. It's lovely, really tasty.
I'll have to try some.
Sounds clever.
Hey.
Right then, Kev, thank you very much for coming in. No doubt we'll have
Pleasure,
you
fellas.
again on soon.
Thank you very much, Kev. It's been an absolute pleasure. And
The
yeah,
listener might not have me back. He might not want me back.
well, it depends if
See what that
Mike
figures
is,
say.
yeah, the figures, or if Mike is leaving any reviews under his alias.
What was it? Wakey Milson.
Mikey Milson. No, it's brilliant. Thanks for that, Kev. And yeah, we'll see you again soon, no doubt.
Cool.
Well, that was a guest we were really looking forward to having on, and brilliant stories. I think
Long time
the-
coming.
a
We
long
haven't
time
even scratched the surface.
That's what I mean. But to get, it's when the characters like that, your Kevs, your Julians, your Steve Briggs, they've been about the scene for ages. There's no substitute for time spent on the bank for funny stories, experiences, in general. Sort of, you just become sort of enthralled in.
You think of all the
in
funny
story.
things that have happened to you or me in the last 10 years of fishing or whatever, and then you've got times that by like four.
Yeah, comparatively, we've experienced nothing compared to these guys.
And also, like the stories about like Roger there, I think, I'm going to admit, I have no idea who Roger was.
Yeah.
But such a big influential part of angling, Kev's angling, and probably angling alone, and the people that he met and spread out a lot. Obviously, the scene being a lot smaller then, he would have come into contact and met a lot more people, and it's just someone I never knew. And there'll be kids who won't know who we're talking about when we tell stories in years to come. So yeah, it's really good to sit down with Kev and chat about guys like that, because it just makes you think.
They are sort of responsible for shaping. Well, they are. They're not sort of. They absolutely are responsible for shaping carp fishing. So you've got the people who are in the limelight, in the public eye as such, as much as you could be back then, because it only would have been through print.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
But you've got these guys who weren't in the magazines and that, who have really had an impact on how we fish today and the way it's transforms into what it is, which is interesting.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully all our listeners will as well, because I know I keep getting messages, when are you going to do Kev, when you do Kev? So yeah, always a good one for the listeners, that Kev. He always goes down well.
Yeah,
live
absolutely.
streams and hopefully podcasts. So.
Yeah, and like I say, it's good to see him, because I know he's a big fan of them. He likes to, when he's jetting off
Kev's
to
a big
Portugal,
fan. Yeah,
he likes to listen back to all the live streams, all the podcasts. So yeah, nice to have him on, and we'll have him on again soon.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. What's coming up then, Dan? What are your plans?
But now,
yeah. Well,
what's the time? Media tea, 3 o'clock. Media tea.
3 o'clock
Done,
off now, aren't you, mate? Yeah,
done.
Yeah, go put your feet up.
No, I'll probably just. I've got loads of bits and bobs to do, studio photography, so I'll go live in the studio for the next few hours. And
yeah, and me, I've got to publish the last episode, which was with Julian.
Oh,
so that'll be live. That'll be live tonight. And then in terms of guests on the next podcast, who knows?
Not me, not you.
Who knows?
The most unorganized people.
No, we're like I say, we're delivering these consistently now, mate.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Just for now.
Yeah, but if anyone's got any suggestions on who they want on, give us a shout.
Drop us a message.
Yeah. And yeah, do you know what? I had someone lined up who, not necessarily Nash Tackle employer or associated with, very accomplished angler, but he was coming up here. Kev Hewitt. Messaged him on Instagram going, "Oh, Kev." And bear in mind, I've met Kev before. I'm not just a random guy going, "Hello, Kev." I messaged him.
Big fan.
Yeah, big fan. Like what you do. Love your work. I messaged him to see if he wanted to come and do a podcast while he was here because he was doing a live stream with Kevin and Hassan. And I messaged him. Didn't reply. Blanked me. 2 weeks. Nothing. Met him as he was coming into the car park the other night going, "What's this about, mate? Why are you blanking me on Instagram when I'm slipping into the DMs?" And he went, "What's the DMs?" And Tommy literally had to show. He goes, "Oh, bloody hell, I've got like 28." And he had all these messages. He just didn't know how to work Instagram. So he's messaged me and said, "Yeah, he'd be well up for it. As long as his sponsors are happy for him to do it."
Yeah.
You know, we're not exactly...
Not treading on anyone's toes. We just want to have a
We don't exactly like
chat.
plug Nash Tackle gear, and it's not to sell it. We just want to chat about carp fishing. So as long as their ESP and CC Moores are happy, Kev will come on and at some point and have a chat.
Which would be
about
good
carp
as well,
fishing.
to get a different spin on things, different angle, and it's not all about Nash. It's just
Exactly. And
finding
I'm
people that
bored of the people in the
good
office.
entertain.
Mikey,
I
Tommy,
know. What we
boring.
do with them?
Boring.
Don't do anything.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
But yeah, we'll get someone fun in soon.
I'm sure we will.
Cool.
But anyway, as for now, we're back to work.
Yeah.
So,
Do you want to do your little plug-in bit?
what with the reviews? Oh no, I tell you what, I did have an idea, and I was going to do it in the intro, but I thought the outro is the best place. So you reminded me.
Go on.
Obviously, we love it when you leave a review, guys. Unless you're Mikey's alias, which
Plug-in.
yeah. So if you have enjoyed the podcast, please tell your friends, your fellow carp fishing friends, or if you generally think they'd enjoy it, let them know. We really appreciate your support. What we're going to do, I'm going to start reading out a few reviews.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so if you leave a review, as long as it's a nice one.
No, do the meme ones like we did the YouTube comments.
What, the mean one? No, you don't,
Yeah.
because then they're going to get Logan to leave loads of 1 star.
Oh, yeah, don't do that. Don't
Yeah,
leave
no.
bad reviews. 5 stars.
In 5 stars,
Say what
we
you
might
want in
read
the
you out.
comments.
No, that's really pluggy, that, isn't it?
5 stars. Say what you want in the comments. Best of both worlds.
Oh, yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, leave
Alfie's
us
got
5
massive
stars.
eyes. Dan's got a huge nose. It's fine.
Yeah, that's just to start you off, but, you
Yeah.
know, get creative.
Any
No.
more plug-in?
No, that's it. I'm done with the plugin now.
Cool. Not going to say share it. Share it.
You share it if you like. I'm not plugging, Dan.
All right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. I'll see you later.
Yeah, see you, mate.